Okay guys, welcome to my class again, Biochemistry Classroom. We will be discussing the enzymology, clinical enzymology. In the last video, we have discussed the duration the enzymes remain elevated in the blood circulation. For example, the CKMB for 4 to 6 hours, SGOD for 6 to 8 hours, LDH for 8 to 10 hours. And myoglobin 2 to 6 hours. That was actually the earliest marker, but is not a specific marker because it can be elevated in other injuries as well. Troponin I, troponin T, 3 to 6 hours, they remain elevated in the circulation. When I talk about troponins, basically troponins these are some regulatory proteins in your heart, okay, heart muscles. And I hope you know that in the troponins we had that troponin ITC. Do you remember ITC? So we remember troponin ITC, isn't it? So trop I was, what is the meaning of troponin I? Anyone? Yes, let me check the chat box. Yes, very nice. They are actin binding. Then they should be written as T trop A. You very nicely said that it is actin binding. Then why it is called trop I? Yeah, okay, let me tell you. Basically, troponin I is called I because you have actin, myosin, inhibitory protein, inhibitory ATPase, inhibitory ATPase. Okay, fine. So that's why called trop I. And important point to remember is trop I is more specific for heart. That's why I will be choosing trop I over other markers because trop I is increase in cardiac problems. Okay, MI. So trop I will be chosen over CKMB. No doubt others are also increasing, but this is more specific. That means it will only rise in MI. Means specific. It will only rise in the heart injury. Are you able to understand? Then we have trop C, trop IT. Then we have trop I, trop T, troponin T. Troponin T stands for tropomyosin binding. Now these are regulatory proteins in the muscle contraction. I had taught you in the first day of physiology, 1 year back. So tropomyosin binding. Tropomyosin binding. And then we have trop C. Then we have trop C. Trop C stands for calcium binding. So these are the proteins which will be increased in heart tissue defects, and these are actually the regulatory proteins present in the cardiac muscle. But one point to understand is that, sir, you may have a question in the brain, sir, whether this will increase in cardiac failure. If you are saying it's increased in the heart tissues, do you mean that my heart is failing? Will it increase? So for that case, for heart failure, we don't use this. We use BNP. We use BNP as a marker. Please remember this. I'll take a red pen. So BNP we use as a marker for heart failure. So BNP stands for brain natriuretic peptide. It's not released in brain. Okay, I have taught you. Where is it released? BNP is released in dash. Yeah, very nice. So ventricles. Okay, fine. Now, let me tell you, is there something called IMA? Is there something called IMA? Do you know something about IMA, guys? Mm-hmm. IMA means ischemia modified albumin. What happens? What happens is, the region where I am getting infarction. For example, this is my heart tissue. At this region, I got a loss of blood supply. I had a coronary thrombosis, for example, and this region got, it started ischemia. Ischemia happened and infarct happened. Okay, I will teach this infarct in your second year pathology. What happens is at this region, I had a circulating blood. I had a circulating blood, and that blood will have albumin, and that albumin will get modified at this place where you have necrosis and everything happening, right? So that's why we measure that ischemic modified albumin. So at that site of infarction, I can measure that. So that is now we consider it as the latest, marker. But this one, troponin I is always used in our hospitals also. What we check for marker, trop I. Okay, we go for trop I. Are we able to understand, guys? So can you, by the way, tell me what is the difference between a hemoglobin and a myoglobin? Yeah, a difference between myoglobin and hemoglobin. Okay, before saying that, let me tell you some other enzymes which are increased in some other conditions that will help you clinically in the hospital also. Okay, so please make a separate sheet and write some diagnostic enzymology. I was telling you last time, if I had been if I had to make a curriculum for a medical school, then diagnostic enzymology would have been a part. Okay, so please write some points for your diagnostic enzymology. Okay, yes, very correct. This is one of the difference. So this is a monomer, this is a tetramer. Great, nice. So see, when I talk about diagnostic enzymology, what I see is, in a condition called viral hepatitis. Okay, so viral hepatitis, Hep B virus. Okay, I got an infection and my liver got damaged. Viral hepatitis, and the enzymes which are present inside my liver cell is ALT. Okay, ALT. What is the meaning of ALT? What is the meaning of ALT, guys? First year, just asking for first year. Yes, guys. I think people are sleeping, isn't it? Enjoying sleep. Wow, morning sleep. ALT is alanine aminotransferase. ALT stands for alanine aminotransferase. Correct? And whenever you come across this enzyme, we mostly think about liver. So whenever you have a liver damage, I think about this enzyme to come in the circulation. So can this come in viral hepatitis? Yes, but there can be also increase in AST. What is AST? What is AST, guys? Aspartate aminotransferase. Let me write first names. AST stands for aspartate. Aspartate aminotransferase. Now tell me one thing, guys. This can also elevate, but I will teach you something different to remember something. Whenever ALT increases more than AST, whenever ALT increases more than AST, we consider it diagnostic for viral hepatitis. So if I get ALT more than AST, I diagnose it as viral hepatitis. Correct? Correct. But if I have AST greater than ALT, I will say, see, alcohol can also cause damage to the hepatocytes. So can I say alcoholic hepatitis? Yes. So in alcoholic hepatitis, AST will increase more than ALT. But if I ask you, where is only AST increased? Where is only AST increased? That is myocardial infarction. So AST only, myocardial infarction. These are some clinical points I am giving you. Okay, take them as a clinical pearls. Take them as clinical pearls. So please understand this thing. Next enzyme we have which rises in a disease that is called alkaline phosphatase. Alkaline phosphatase. Alkaline phosphatase. At this moment, I can't teach you that many things because you are in the first year. But yeah, for your understanding, I can say whenever you have any osteoblastic bone disease, see, we can have osteolytic bone disease, a disease in the bone which is causing lysis of the, which is decreasing the bone material. Correct? Or I can have a osteoblastic bone disease. Osteoblastic bone disease. So osteoblastic bone disease. So in osteoblastic bone disease, let me give you an example. Let us take a simple example. You know when fracture happens, this is my, for example, this is a bone. And in the bone, I got a fracture. Okay. So there is a simple fracture. Okay. I got a fracture. And now, when this fracture has happened, my bone will start, it will start regeneration and repair. So fracture will start repair. That I will teach in orthopedics. So these bone fragments, when I approximate them, and I put some growth factors also there as per the management of fracture, I approximate them, they will start making new callus, new cells. And by that they will also start increasing the growth factors. They will also inhibit some other factors which are causing lysis of this region. So that is a natural bone, homeostasis which will start at that time to, maintain that position, to come back to that old position, the normal shape of the bone. So I can say this is also an osteoblastic. This can also come in this fracture repair. So repairing the fracture will increase alkaline phosphatase. I have another disease in pathology and orthopedics that is called Paget's disease. Paget's disease. Or we very well know another example which I can give. In prostate cancer, if it is a metastatic prostate, it will show osteoblastic lesions. It will go through the, it will spread to the vertebra. Okay, it can spread to the vertebra. and it can cause osteoblastic variety of lesions. So I can say metastatic prostate cancer. Because I said it is about bone mostly. So that means it will increase in this disease also. So metastatic prostate cancer, or from the liver point of view, this was all about osteoblastic. Okay, remember, this was all about osteoblastic. Next example which I can give is obstructive liver disease. Obstructive liver disease. Fine. So you will have a rise in ALP. So is it diagnostic? Is it helping me to diagnose something? Yes, it is helping me to diagnose. What if I did not have these enzymes? It could have been very much difficult for me, or I could have chosen some other modality to diagnose these conditions. So amylase is also there. Let me write amylase. Amylase will be increased, very much important, acute pancreatitis. Amylase increases in acute pancreatitis, and also mumps. Mumps is parotitis, inflammation of parotid gland, parotitis, mumps, correct? Then we have some other, we have creatinine kinase, CK, which you said it can increase if it is a CKMB variety, increases in MI. But I have also one variety in which CKMM increase. What is that? Anyone? I will give a chocolate. I said CKMB increase in MI. What increases in CKMM increase in what? Yeah, come on. You said something. She tried to, tell something so that it makes the teacher happy, isn't it? Yeah, she gave such an answer to impress. She tried to formulate in such a way, so that she can, write something. Basically, that's a condition called Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. Duchenne muscular dystrophy. These are some clinical pearls I am giving you. We'll be making, soon some points about clinical pearls which helps you to diagnose things. Okay. So some things come from experience, some things come from books, some things come from, your, so we are going to give you whatever we learned or whatever we can make you understand. Okay. But don't worry. So CKMM, Duchenne's muscular dystrophy, CKMB, MI. Then we have some other disease which is also raised in obstructive liver disease, by the way. I forgot to tell you, in obstructive liver disease, what else can increase? There is something called GGT. GGT stands for gamma glutamyl transferase. Gamma glutamyl transferase. It is also increased in obstructive liver disease. And alcoholics. Check the alcoholics GGT, it will be increased. Are we able to understand? Guys, are we able to understand, or we are enjoying sleep? Wow, what a easy class it is, isn't it? Yeah. People in the video also, they must also be laughing, sir. We are not sleeping. Alcoholics. Spelling of alcoholics, ALCO. I always forget the spelling also. Alcoholics. But when I don't know the spelling, what I do? I do this. Okay, I keep the burden of understanding on the audience. Okay, yeah. Spelling is not a problem. Spelling is not a problem. Problem is what? Understand. You can write anything, but you should know what you are writing. Yeah. So can I say alcoholics will have GGT? Can I even say in alcoholic hepatitis, I will have AST also increased? See how many things can you see? Then you say LDH1. LDH1 increased in MI. LDH1 MI. Correct. Okay, let me ask someone and I'll see who gives me the first answer. Lipase increases in dash. Lipase increases in dash. Acute pancreatitis. Guys, it is having lipase, so why don't you understand? Pancreas means inflammation. So the enzyme will come out. Okay. So acute pancreatitis. Now I give you two choices. I give you lipase in one hand and I give you amylase. Which one will you choose and why for acute pancreatitis? If I tell you to choose for acute pancreatitis, which one will you choose? At this first year level, just for this first year orientation, I will choose very beautiful. Beautiful. So the answer is a very beautiful wrong answer. So the answer is lipase. I will choose lipase. So lipase is more specific. It is more specific than amylase. We will understand. So in acute pancreatitis, I would choose lipase rather than amylase. We will understand. Is this clear, friends? Yeah. So this was some diagnostic part I wanted to teach you. Okay. So alanine transferase, alanine aminotransferase increase in viral hepatitis more than DST. Aspartate aminotransferase increase more in alcoholic hepatitis. Even in MI, it can singly elevate. Alkaline phosphatase increase in osteoblastic bone diseases, Paget's disease, metastatic prostate cancer, obstructive liver disease, fracture repair. Amylase increase in mumps, parotitis, acute pancreatitis, creatine kinase, myocardial infarction, CKMB, but where CKMM, Duchenne's muscular dystrophy, gamma glutamyl transferase, obstructive liver disease, alcoholics, lactate dehydrogenase 1, MI, lipase, acute pancreatitis, two choices, lipase, amylase, which one to choose, lipase, done, done. This is how you revise things. I will understand. Yeah, I will tell you why. Because amylase increases in parotitis also. So who is specific? Lipase is specific for acute pancreatitis. I have to choose something which is specific. We don't choose like we choose everything. Maybe that was increased in parotitis and you are diagnosing him as pancreatitis. Okay, so this is a diagnostic part. We'll teach you more in medicine. Don't worry. For just giving you at this first year level, this is not not that much required. Just remember these things. You will learn them again in pathology. But yeah, it was some. I try to connect this with enzymes. So guys, when I talk about uh, myoglobin and hemoglobin, what is the difference? The difference between myoglobin and hemoglobin is I have taught you already in physio also, but here I want to give a biochemical perspective. When we say about hemoglobin, biochemistry, and then we talk about myoglobin, I will write MB, but it will become molybdenum, so don't write like that. So myoglobin. Hemoglobin, the function of hemoglobin is to transport O2. It is to transport O2. Do you remember transportation of hemoglobin? Yes, sir. So function is oxygen transport. But when we discuss about myoglobin, it is O2 storage. This is where you get confused. O2 storage. Location. RPCs. Skeletal muscle. Correct? How much is the O2 bound at PO2 in lungs? Okay. How much is the O2 bound at that PO2 in the lungs? So O2 bound at that PO2 in lungs. It is high, definitely. but this PO2 will be low. Wrong answer. This will also be high. This will also be high. Storage high, transport high. What about the tissue? At the tissues, the O2 at PO2 in tissues in case of hemoglobin will be low. I hope you know this. While as in myoglobin it will be high. Very good. It will be high. Are we able to understand, everyone? So amount of O2 which is bound at PO2 in lungs is high in hemoglobin. Again high in myoglobin. But the amount of O2 bound at PO2 in tissues would be low in hemoglobin. I would understand. But myoglobin has high O2 bound at PO2 in tissues. Is it clear? What other difference you remember between O2 hemoglobin and myoglobin? What other difference? I remember a difference of quaternary structure. I will teach you in proteins, the structure of proteins, but for this moment, please write this. Structure, quaternary structure, tetramer. Myoglobin, monomer. Do you remember? Is there quaternary structure? Yeah. No. Are you able to understand? Do you remember the binding curve? Percentage saturation and that PO2? I had taught you in the physiology of respiratory system that there is something called cooperative binding of multiple ligand molecules. So there was a sigmoid in the RBC, sigmoid graph. Do you remember when we were shifting that to right, shifting that to left? So sigmoid is basically the characteristic of hemoglobin. So the binding curve is sigmoid. Why? Cooperative theory of positive cooperativity. Do you remember theory of positive cooperativity? Cooperativity, correct? While as if I see the myoglobin, myoglobin as um, hyperbolic. Hyperbolic. That means one ligand molecule binds in reversible. Very nice. Rectangular hyperbolic. Very good. I was waiting someone to tell me. Rectangular hyperbolic. Very good. Correct. So binding of a ligand molecule in reverse equilibrium. How many hemes do we have? Number of heme groups. Number of heme groups in hemoglobin, 4. In myoglobin, 1. Very good. Correct. Same way we can remember a difference in the hexokinase. Do you remember hexokinase? Do you remember hexokinase? Hexokinase has what types? Type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. And you used to say type 4 is glucokinase. Type 4 is glucokinase. Which of the following was most abundant? Type 2 was most abundant. Most abundant. Are you able to understand? Okay. Is this clear? So if you want, I can draw the curve here also so that you remember what is sigmoid and what is hyperbolic. But you can draw it at the at a side. So we used to say this was a sigmoid curve and I was seeing it at P50. Its P50 was P50. But this is not actually a sigmoid. Let me draw sigmoid correctly. Okay. So this was the, for example, if this is 20, this is 26, this is 40. So here I was seeing appreciating. To draw rather it more clearly. like this. What's the color? Yes, this is the color. So I have seen here is my 24. So I take them as P50. Do you remember P50? And this is P50, and this is my red color I take as myoglobin. No, I take pink as myoglobin. So pink is like this, and then I have like this. So this is myoglobin. So this was sigmoid. What was sigmoid? Hemoglobin. Sigmoid. Myoglobin, rectangular hyperbolic. Rectangular hyperbolic rate. Hyperbolic. Very nice. 50% saturation of hemoglobin. Great. So this I represent as PO2 in muscle. This I represent as PO2 in lungs. Okay, this much PO2 in lungs. Okay, what is the PO2 in mmHgs? PO2 in mmHgs is this much. This side is for PO2 in mmHgs. This is the percentage saturation. Are we clear? And this becomes the 50. This becomes 50. 0, 50 and 100 saturation. Are we clear with this? I taught you, isn't it? So we were taking 50% saturation, and the lower value of P50, the greater the affinity for O2. Okay. Are you understand why we have a very low P50 for myoglobin? So that oxygen remain bound to it, except in hypoxic conditions. Can we understand the process of positive cooperativity, the theory of positive cooperativity, cooperative binding in the sigmoid? Can you see the sigmoid? Why it was sigmoid? Because of this theory. Why sigmoid curve? This is this is the confusion what students tackle around this globe. When I ask why this is sigmoid, they don't they just say that just to give the oxygen, but it is not based on that. It is based on cooperative binding. Okay, so it is made up of various multiple subunits. Do you remember that lecture of mine on respiratory physiology? Can I say if I say hemoglobin is working on the principle of positive cooperativity, or it is working on the principle of cooperative binding, can I say myoglobin is indicating non-cooperative binding of O2. So this indicates non-cooperative. I am explaining this further for your sake. Some people in this video are new, that's why. So non-cooperative binding, you have to check my lectures, what is cooperative binding and what is non-cooperative. Okay, so non-cooperative binding of O2, this is cooperative binding of O2. This is how your concepts are clear. Are we able to understand? So likewise, I am going to take this hexokinase. When I take hexokinase, I had taught you two enzymes in the glycolysis. That was hexokinase and glucokinase. What is the difference between the two? I have already taught you in basics of biochemistry. Yeah, who can contribute? Who wants to contribute? So let me write hexokinase. Yes. Remember all cells. Glucokinase, liver and pancreas. Correct? All cells means it is going to phosphorylate the hexoses which are present in your pretty much every cell of your body. So your hexose phosphorylation will happen in all the tissues with the help of hexokinase, while as glucokinase only glucose, only glucose. But this hexoses. Watch my lecture again on what is a hexose, what is a glucose, basics of carbohydrate biochemistry. That's why at that time some people were laughing. They said, sir, this basic thing you are teaching, you start even from nursery. You start every topic from nursery. You say what is a hexose? You feel like it is easy. But when this time comes of understanding, then you forget everything. You don't even get one example of what is an hexose. At that time, you speak multiple, a hell lot of examples. But right now, we are not able to even regain one example. Are you able to understand? So please understand, when we start with basics, they are meant to make your foundation correct, foundation strong, foundation firm. So please understand, when you start with basics, then the life becomes easy. Otherwise, you would land in unlimited troubles, and the troubles which are not anticipated. Okay. So hexokinase, all cells, phosphorylation of hexo sugars, but glucokinase for glucose only. And in location is liver and pancreas. Second difference which I taught you was the affinity difference. I said these were having a low Km, which will be our next topic, and low Vmax. Though low Km and low Vmax. Okay. That means what does this indicate? Whenever you see less Km, less Vmax, it means less substrate is required. Less substrate required and high affinity. And high affinity. I will teach this again in upcoming discussions. Okay. If I talk about glucokinase, then yeah, you can very well make the difference. So increase Km and increase Vmax. Okay. Are you able to understand? So what does this mean? It means high substrate affinity. High substrate affinity. Yeah, very nice answer. At least someone answered. So this will work in fed state. Very good. It is active in fed state. Very nice. Insulin. Great. So this will be active in fed state. So in the beginning of the class, this student was nowhere. Okay. Let me talk to you at the end of the class. Message me at the end of the class. Correct? Yeah. So fed state. Fed state. Correct? What else difference we remember? Yeah, let us write her insulin is stimulating glucokinase. Insulin stimulates glucokinase. Okay. Because fed state, when you feed, you have postprandial hyperglycemia. Pancreas stimulated, GLUT receptor stimulated, increase the levels of insulin so that we start the cells require energy, cells need glucose. We open the gates by using insulin. Insulin opens the gates, cell take glucose. And when you have adequate glucose, sufficient glucose, we change our glucose to fatty acid synthesis. We change our glucose to storage form. So we make glycogen. Remember? And yeah. So that means by that concept and by that inference, we can understand that insulin should be written in this category. Correct? Who inhibits hexokinase? Who inhibits hexokinase? Glucose 6-phosphate. This is all how I connect things. Okay, you have to connect like this. How you will understand? So guys, this was all for today. I hope you have enjoyed. I am trying to make biochemistry easy. Crack the biochemistry with me. Pretty much every subject of MBBS. Try to gather what I mean. Okay. Okay guys. So take care. I hope you have enjoyed this lecture. Also, I'm available on YouTube. We have other playlists there. You can check them. And this is just a contribution from my side to this medicine so that I can help students understand the subject much better. And first thing is to realize what you have to study in MBBS and what not to study. Okay, don't waste your time studying that thing which is not required at your level. So guys, we'll see you tomorrow in the next discussion. Take care and bye bye.